Hey, what's up, YouTube? We're back with our bots update video. This is going to be a stratagems video. This is my older tier list, but not enough has changed for me to feel like I need to completely rework it. But what we're going to do is start off. We're just going to move things around. Some things have moved due to, well, new stratagems being added, but also some things have moved just because my perception of things has changed, right? Or just discussions I've had with community. They've opened my eyes to, okay, maybe I was a bit too harsh here. Maybe I was too easy on this one. So, and I was reading through the comments and I feel like some people have some great feedback, you know, and, you know, I can see things from different perspectives and I love that. So thank you so much for letting me know in the comments, what you think of the tier list, because I do read it and I find it very informative, to figure out like what people are using and what they like. Cause I play a lot of 210s and I do it with randoms and I somewhat try to grab like what my teammates are picking and how successful they are with it to augment like how I play the game and what I use. So I'm trying not to just grab only my perspective and then throw it into a tier list. I'm trying my best to grab as many perspectives as possible and then orientate it on how effective, different stratagems are. That being said, let's get into it. I think the first thing I want to start moving around, if I'm looking here, would probably be the HMG emplacement. This one actually did receive a change that I think is actually very monumental and actually like fixes the problem that I originally had with it. The reason why I was in B+ before was because when it got destroyed by like a rocket or anything, it would get blown up. And when it got blown up, it would kill you no matter what you could do. You could be wearing explosive resistant armor. You could be having a stim active. You would die. So there was nothing you can do to prevent that from happening. You would just be dead. And I didn't like that, like you were living on this like edge of like, it was extremely effective sometimes when you were using it, but sometimes you could just like take a rocket from a rocket strider you didn't see and then immediately be dead no matter what you did. So now that they've fixed that, you will not die when it blows up. You actually take 0 damage when it dies, which is actually kind of sick. It actually immediately goes up to like A+. I think it is an extremely powerful stratagem. My only caveat for not putting it higher, because I know some people are like, it deserves to be an S tier. The only reason it doesn't go to F tier is because there's too many situations where an enemy shows up and you can't kill him, like a tank or like a factory strider. And yes, you can technically kill the factory strider, but there's too many situations where they're like 100 meters away and they're just nailing you with the top gun and you're probably going to be dead, right? Unless you like have like the perfect situation where like maybe you have like a shield generator up and like you somehow could drop him. Like it's not great at killing a factory strider at like 100 meters range. It's good like when he's like kissing you and you're able to destroy the 2 Gatling sentries and then you can just lay into them, but it just takes so long. So it's not amazing in all situations, but it's very strong against the like a lot of the automatons. So, which is why it deserves to be higher. Another one that I felt like should be changed is, let me find it, is the grenade launcher. I think I was going a little too harsh on it. I do think it's better than the arc thrower. The arc thrower deserves to be a little bit farther down on B, closer to B-. Another one was the MG43. I think I was a little too harsh on that one. And the spear. I apologize. I was a little too harsh on it. Like, it does definitely have more utility than I gave it use for, but I do think that it still stands that I think other rockets are just better, including expendable ones. Like if I'm picking between like the Quasar and the spear, it's not even close. I just bring the Quasar every time. Even though the Quasar can't shoot down dropships as well as the recoils, and you might be like, what does that mean? If you can only shoot down dropships with the Quasar if you shoot the engine. It takes multiple shots to shoot the fuselage. If you shoot the fuselage, it cracks in half, killing all the enemies attached to it, which makes the recoil so good. You might be like, well, streamer, the spear can do that too. The thing is that the spear could accidentally hit the engine. And then on top of that, the animal economy is way worse, right? And you have to worry about the locking duration, like how long it takes to lock onto something. And it could miss if you try to do it too far out. Spear has more utility than I gave it credit for, but it's definitely not that much. I would say that you're way better off taking the recoils and just learning the trajectory than trying to finagle the spear into like hitting the right target. Like when you get good at like hitting the eye of a factory strider, it's such a rush on how good the recoils is at it. right? It's insane when you start hitting eyes and one-shotting factory chargers. It's disgusting. It's so good. So that being said, I was a little too harsh on it, but hopefully you guys can understand. Just the recoil is just so much better. It really is. All right. Another one that I felt like I definitely need to be adjusting is the 2 mechs. They recently got a kind of a damage resist. They got more health essentially. And I think because of that, they definitely go up to like C+, B-. I think if you're a good mech pilot and you're being very conscious about what's in front of you and trying to hide behind cover, you know, you can keep mechs alive for a decent amount of time, but they take so long to come back, you know, 10 minutes. And then on top of that, it could be a 25% increase because of the Planetary modifier. And you only get 2 uses. Just like they're just too squishy against a lot of the automaton forces. They're definitely moving in the right direction, making them more resistant and giving them more health, but they need to have like a flat explosive damage resistance, I think. They're too easily killed by like tons of rocket devastators, a random turret, if a factory starter sees you, oh god, I hope you have some visual cover to hide behind because it is terrifying. So I think they're definitely getting closer to being higher. I definitely think the Emancipator mech is the better one of the 2, but yeah, not close enough, not yet. Another one that was in need of rework, and it actually did get kind of a rework, is the cluster, rocket airburst cluster. It got cluster munitions. Essentially how it works is when you fire it, it doesn't have proximity dead anymore, but after 80 meters, it just blows up. Similar to the Eruptor, but far less range. I do think that they should probably remove that automatic detonation and maybe give us the detonation button. It'd be really cool if we could fire it and then detonate it when we want. I do like that it removes the airburst, you know, function, like that, in the sense that like no more like proximity det, because the proximity det too often gets you killed. And I do think the cluster bombs are in a better spot, but not good of enough spot that I would like really praise the cluster. I'm probably going to end up putting it around like B-. I do think there are situations where you can definitely make it work. You know, a horde of devastators walking towards you, it can be quite effective, especially if you know, have the right distance and placement of it. It can, you know, have a wide range, and it still does a lot of damage because of the previous like explosive increase of damage. But I think I'm being pretty generous to it, putting it in B-. I don't think it deserves to be higher. Unless you're doing a very particular, like maybe 20-minute defense and you can get a ton of kills per shot. But even then, you know, there's going to be a lot of enemies that just kind of shrug it off too often. And I don't know what else it could do other than like giving us even more options on how it explodes. Another thing that I didn't mention about the cluster is that it does explode in a circle, which is fantastic. Love that. But yeah, it's getting closer. It's getting closer. I think like little increments from here, and you know, it might be in that sweet spot of like perfect. All right. Was there anything else I wanted to touch? I'm just kind of looking through anything else. Oh, I've honestly just been taking the ballistic sentry a lot more lately. And honestly, I do think it probably deserves to be like A-. It is like a nice like helper to you. It fires a Liberator Penetrator, and it is really nice for just dealing with those like little bots and just dealing with those devastators at like medium range around you. Obviously, it's not going to do anything versus a Hulk or a tank, but you know, when you're getting devastator swarmed, like I really do like bringing it. It is like a fairly like fun, you know, little backpack to run if you're running like already like an AMR or something like that. You know, even though I do think like the supply backpack is better, like it is like a decent option for your back. All right. A really big surprising one that I was like incredibly impressed by, and maybe you guys might not know, but is the car. I think it's like honestly an A+. I didn't expect this at all. I thought it would absolutely be destroyed in seconds on bots. I thought it would be fucked. But for some reason, the AI tends to like lose track of you very fast if you are driving at a pretty good speed. So if you're a fairly good driver, this thing slaps. It's very good for like being the scout oriented person on the team, where you go out and you just like do the side objectives, do like the white beams and stuff like that. Like it's incredibly good for that role. I'm very impressed by it. it has way more tankiness than you think. Yes, you may lose a tire or two, which definitely hurts like how maneuverable or how fast you can drive. But for the most part, I was incredibly impressed by it. Like, I'm still flabbergasted by how good it is. Now, some planets will be better for it than others. You know, I was driving it around on, I think it was Senti or something like that. And, you know, it was a pretty wide open. There's a fair bit of like rocks and other random terrain, but, you know, you can get it up to like 50 kph or higher quite like regularly. And bots just can't track you and lose, like, they just don't pay attention to you after you drive like even like 50 to 100 meters farther than that, and they stop trying to shoot at you. It's kind of weird. It's almost like a stealth. It's like there's like kind of stealth modifier on it. It's very interesting, but yeah, highly impressed. Really liked it. Okay, next, going for the directional shield. I do think it is definitely a step up above the ballistic shield, but I don't think it is insanely good. There's probably more situations where I'd prefer having the proper backpack shield over it, because it really is limiting what weapons you can use alongside it. Melee, you're not going to be meleeing on bots. Let's just be honest. I know there's going to be someone that says, yes, you can, but come on. You're not going to be meleeing bots. It just doesn't really work out very well for you unless you're doing a meme build. But I will say it pairs extremely well with some SMGs, and it pairs really well with the crossbow. If you're crossbow pilled like I am, and you absolutely love the crossbow, I do think that the directional shield is really good when paired with it, right? So I'm probably going to put a B+, A-, somewhere in that range. I do think probably grabbing like the ballistic guard dog is a little bit better. There's a lot of situations where you don't really need this, but it is just a nice to have. And like you can do some like prone tactics where you basically can't get shot. It can't be destroyed like the ballistic shield. It actually recharges quite fast. It has a lot of health. It's like a very solid weapon. Like, as I use it more, I could easily see it going up to A. But, you know, first impressions of it, like it pairs really well with the crossbow, and I've been loving it in that regard. Gas mines, obviously we didn't have like really any time to use them. But I would suggest it would probably be somewhere along the lines of like C tier. I do think it would be better than the other two, and I think it would be somewhat similar to anti-tank mines. You know, good for a little bit of damage over time, good for like basically like a large amount of CC in the distance crowd control, with some like damage alongside it. I don't think mines are in a great spot cooldown wise, and I don't think mines are in a great spot damage wise for a lot of them. They are getting into a better spot, but I do think that, you know, make them easier to see, lower the cooldown, and I think, you know, they're probably going to be edging into the B tier pretty soon. Okay. This next one, the anti-tank emplacement. I'm sure nobody is surprised to see this thing go all the way into S tier. This thing is disgusting. It's so disgusting. It's like shooting. Every shot is basically like an EAT, right? You can 2-tap dropships. You can 1-tap hulks. You can 2-tap tanks. You can 3-tap a factory strider in the eye, right? Or I think it's like 4 to 5 if you're just hitting it somewhere in the face. This thing is disgusting. Like, it's 30 rounds, so you can just like take on so many bots. I can't believe it. Anti-tank emplacement is incredibly good. Highly recommend the War Bond, especially if you're a bot player. It's insane. The AoE damage obviously isn't that good, but with like a skilled hand and like just putting it backwards, you can use this to snipe long-range fabricators. You can use this to snipe tanks, factory striders, objectives. Like, it's just so crazy how much damage it has per shot, and you have 30 shots of it. Like, it actually eclipses how good the regular HMG emplacement is, just because of the sheer like usefulness of how many enemies you can take care of, from a Devastator all the way up to a factory strider. It's disgusting, right? Obviously it's not the most ammo efficient versus a Devastator, but like this thing can kill 30 Devastators. Yeah, the HMG emplacement can probably kill like maybe closer to 50, but like the fact that you can kill a tank as well when it shows up is something that the HMG emplacement just can't do. All right, flame turret, I think is probably like a C- kind of thing. Like it technically could be somewhat useful on bot missions, like if you place it in like a really good spot where the enemies have to get really close to try and deal with it. But like, in the vast majority of situations, this thing is going to die before it kills anything. Or if it does kill a bunch of things, like it's mostly just like a few bots. Because like even if berserkers come out, like the berserkers are going to get close to it, that it'll probably light itself on fire, and like it eventually, like 3 or 4 in, it'll probably kill it. Like Flame Sentry is like decent, but not for this kind of enemy group. Like it's just, there's too many things that counter it. Unfortunately, we can't place the Wasp yet because we don't know how it runs, but my estimation is probably going to be close to like A plus S, somewhere range. It's incredibly versatile, and yes, it has the drawback of like locking, but it also has the positive of locking, so it makes it easier to use. 7 individual rounds that do a lot of damage per shot. It'll probably end up one-shotting individual devastators and maybe like, you know, killing 1 or 2 in a clump because it does AoE damage. And then like tanks, I'm expecting like 3 to 4 shots, and especially since it tends to do a top-down attack. Hulks probably like 2 to 3 shots to kill them. Like, I think the only thing it probably won't be good against is Factory Strider, and for the same reason the Spear isn't good, because it shoots center mass and it's going to hit like some random dumb part on the Factory Strider rather than the head. I would love for them to add the tracking point to kill the Factory Strider be the head. It would make the Spear so much better. It would probably make this Wasp better. So I'm assuming it'll be able to kill a Fabricator maybe in like 2 hits, 3 hits, something like that. So I think the pure versatility of the Wasp and the ease of use will probably give it like that A tier. I'm just curious on whether or not it's going to be S tier or not. I'll keep you posted. As soon as they unlock it, we'll be testing it fully. And I'll probably do like a dedicated video to the Wasp talking about, you know, all the positives, negatives. And in that video, I will probably tell you guys where I'd place it. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's anything else you would move on this tier list, but I feel pretty confident in where I've placed things. A lot of things that I'd like to see improved. You know, just thinking off the top of my head, like I'm sure there's still a debate on whether or not the, you know, the strafing run deserves to be a little higher. You know, I could easily see people probably suggesting it go into A tier. I'm still not in that camp yet. I still feel like it probably needs to either have more width against bots or just more hit splashes so it can more consistently take out like bigger targets like tanks in one pass. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with a lot of things that are placed here, and stay tuned. We'll be doing the bugs tier list right after this. Really excited to see what you guys think about that one as well, and consider dropping by the stream. I stream every morning, 3 a.m. to about, you know, noon EST, so you know I might be live when you're watching this, so come on by and just talk to me about it. I love talking about these tier lists. I consider dropping a like down below if you enjoyed the video, and consider joining the Discord. You guys can talk to me there, or just find people like yourself to talk about the game or play the game with. You know, we have an LFG in there, so check it out. Much love. Peace out. Thank you for watching. Bye, everybody.